Okay, we're recording. Welcome back, Alexander and Codex. Stardew Valley. Oh, that's a great way to start the episode, Alex. Oh, yeah. We have 15 grand? Wow, I've been ignoring that. So we can definitely go upgrade some tools. Once it loads. There we go. Traveling merchants in town, it's Demetrius' birthday, it's bad luck day. Sorry, is that a corn day? Oh man, I slept way the fuck in today. I think I went to bed at like 6, 7 in the morning? I don't know, that's not unusual for me on a weekend. I get this thing. When I have a lot of free time or I'm up late at night and I have something going on the next day, I often find it very hard to fall asleep. Not because I'm worrying like, oh no, is tomorrow gonna go okay? Sometimes I worry about that. Rarely is it that. Most of the time it's just like, I don't want to do thing. I'm just gonna stay up all night instead. You guess it's okay? Yeah. So I think I did that quite a bit last night. I didn't have anything in particular that I was not wanting to do today. I just wanting to stay up all night instead. Also, I was trying out the newest patch on Pathfinder Kingmaker, which, yeah. Oh dear god, this is a lot of corn. Why do I do this to myself? Because money. Because you need money to play the game. And this is one of the better ways to make cash? Yeah. I mean, it is a farming game. But holding down right click and walking around can be a bit exhausting. But eventually, if we stick with it long enough, there will be mechanics introduced that auto water all the plants, auto harvest all the plants, and then there's going to be very little gameplay left in the game. I'm gonna do at least an hour of Stardew tonight because I want to get in the habit again of doing at least an hour of something every night, and Stardew Valley's easy enough to do on autopilot. I might play some Pathfinder tonight. It's still, in many respects, a buggy mess and unintelligible, dense-ass rules that aren't clearly intuitive to the players or yada yada yada. But I was having fun playing it last night, and really if you're having fun with a game, that tends to be the point. Well, part of the point. Games are supposed to be fun and teach you something or communicate a message or something, just like all other art. I was having an okay time playing New Vegas last night, but that really, like Stardew, is a very similar headspace for me. It's not deeply analytical or critical brain space that I get in. It's just like an autopilot of, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna keep running around doing the thing that I know how to do and just talk aimlessly while I do that. I feel like a very old man sometimes, and you know, probably in a lot of different ways. Just how cantankerous, is that the word? Grumpy I can be, how bitter I can be, but also like we got in the mail yesterday? Day before? No, yesterday, I think. A pamphlet talking about, it's a voter information pamphlet, so like, these are the issues you'll be voting on, and here's all the different candidates, and here's, you know, the entirety of the different amendments, proposals, laws, no, those are not the right words. The things you'll be voting on that I can't remember what the fuck they're called. Issues? Issues is closer, but it's not the right word. All the same, I felt like an old man sitting down with his fucking newspaper and reading through the, business section. I'm like, interesting. Measures? Are they called measures here? Yeah, I guess they are. It just Cora was like, yeah, I don't want to read this. Long and it's boring. I'm like, ooh, it's long and it's boring. But I like politics, and I like economics, and I like history, and I like sociology, and I like science, so reading it was pretty interesting for me. Not a lot crazy going on in Washington State, which, you know, I should be grateful for. All of the candidates I can vote on are, like, really well-qualified Democrat who's been in office for, you know, years, and prior to that had a lot of experience with extensive volunteering work at reputable organizations, and etc., versus random Republican who fucking works for Boeing and has never done any political work at all, has never done any organizational work, and under volunteering, but like, I worked at a soup kitchen for a weekend. Like, oh yeah, you definitely deserve to be a representative to the... Fuck off. No. So that part of the voting process is pretty fucking easy. Highly qualified candidate whose politics are at least somewhat aligned with mine, versus candidate who has no idea what the fuck they're doing, no qualifications or experience at all, and their political platform is hot garbage? Hard decision. It was the Supreme Court, Washington State Supreme Court, not United States Supreme Court, has some interesting stuff going on, because naturally, if you're trying to be elected to a judiciary position, typically, and I say typically because it's not always the case, typically trying to appear bipartisan or nonpartisan is very important. But still, you can tell in the way that people's profiles, if you will, are written, and the descriptors on the kind of work they did, or the schools that they went to, or yada yada yada, you can still get a good feeling for their personal politics, which is really interesting, because the political subtext is there, even if outwardly they're saying, you know, I'm gonna work with people on both sides of the aisle, or I won't let my individual beliefs get in the way of yada yada yada, but you can still kind of tell their biases and personal leanings, and that's kind of cool. Though, mostly it's frustrating that the environment is such that people can't just be straightforward with, like, yeah, these are my political, ethical, moral beliefs, or spiritual beliefs, depending on the person, and they inform my worldview through X, Y, and Z. Instead, they kind of have to act like they don't impact their worldview. Like, oh no, my politics are personal. No, when you're in a position of power and a position of authority, your politics are no longer personal, they're policy. And even if you're trying very hard to act by the letter of the law, you're still going to have inherent biases and etc., based on those. I think there were 3 measures, right? 3 measures for Washington State this time around. 3419, 3429. I can't remember the numbers. It's been like 2 days since I looked at the pamphlet. One is talking about a carbon emission tax, which the people for it obviously argue that a carbon emission tax will help deter folks from using things running on diesel or using power sources that have a lot of emissions, such as fossil fuels, or etc., and that it would impact larger businesses and energy importers who have, say, coal power plants in adjacent states, but not within the state itself. And generally, it's pretty interesting. The folks against it say that it's going to be punishing, and this is just the fucking drum that conservatives beat over and over and over. Oh no, it'll put in danger small businesses. Like, yeah, small businesses. Yeah, that's definitely the reason we have the weird protectionist laws and tax cuts that we have for small businesses. Yeah, sure, my dude. when in reality it's larger corporations or special interest groups paying studies to find that it would at least slightly negatively impact some small businesses, and then claiming that's the entirety of the reason for the resistance to it. Honestly, my biggest source of apprehension is the funding for it, as the first year of any operation that any tax goes into effect, it will be, not paying for itself, right? Because it has not brought in any revenue, but you still have to set up the infrastructure for it, meaning you have to hire people to oversee and administer the taxes. You have to make sure that the taxes are being filed properly and being extracted from the right people in the right way, and you need to set up the financial infrastructure to make sure the funds are handled, and etc, etc, etc. And a lot of this can just be tied into existing systems, but then you have to, tie them into existing systems and pay or spend time on doing that. So that's really the biggest point of concern that I had about it, was just, oh yeah, it will cost money and it will take a little bit of time to set up. But all said, if we just taxed large employers like Starbucks or Amazon, I saw a news article today, and I couldn't tell you where I saw it on Reddit, except I saw it on Reddit, and it was like at 3 in the morning that I read this, and it's been a minute. Been a minute. Yep, been a minute. Talking about how Ed Sheeran has paid more taxes this year than Amazon and Starbucks. Like, that's the world we live in. Individual performers should pay more than multinational corporations employing significant percentages of the population. That's only reasonable. Alternatively, maybe Ed needs to get up his charitable giving game and start being all uppity and confrontational about paying taxes. I joke. Taxes are important and you should pay them if you can pay them. It's just ridiculous that those in our society most able to make a significant impact by giving a certain percentage of their income are unwilling to do so on the grounds that they employ people who pay taxes, or that they provide necessary services, or yada yada yada. Another one of the measures on the Washington state ballot is regarding the acquisition of licenses for semi-automatic rifles, or semi-automatic firearms in general. I think it's firearms in general. It really isn't that strict, and generally I'm pro gun control in general. Generally in general, yeah. Oh hell yeah. It's like fines against people who unlawfully own a gun, and it's like not even talking about taking the gun away, just fining them. It's like, oh okay, yeah, this is the fucking bare minimum you should do. The reason why Washington state doesn't have more stringent firearm laws, when we are by and large such a liberal state because of cities like Seattle, we also have Western Washington, or Eastern Washington, pardon me. And Eastern Washington is largely rural. We do have a lot of communities that can and do engage in at least some amount of hunting, recreationally primarily. Though I don't think it's by necessity for the vast majority of folks. It's still pretty ingrained in our state culture. And there are all kinds of interesting, totally not cults, hanging out in Eastern Washington. Rocky Mountains are a hell of a place, my man. So some people are a bit resistant to that. And the third measure, can I remember what the third measure was? Oh, besides the emission tax, there was... No, the third measure. There was not a measure, but a confirmation of a prior measure to institute a fee or a tax against fuel importers using pipelines, and using that fund or tax. Oh god, we gotta get out of here. Eating those mushrooms was a waste. Taxing importers for the potential of oil spills to create an emergency fund for oil spills, and then using that emergency fund that was funded by the importers in order to clean up any of their mistakes, which just seems natural. It blows my mind that people voted no on that. That hurts small businesses. Fuck you. You're running a pipeline through a state. One, your business is not small. And two, there's some collateral that you should definitely be preemptively held responsible for. There was something else I can't remember. It's not super important. I'm sure it's not the most gripping content to hear somebody half remember. It doesn't matter because we get both of these because of the mod I have installed. I'm gonna go minor. Geologist is worth more financially. If you're playing unmodded, get Geologist. 2 gems is better than 1, and 1 more ore is noteworthy but not terribly significant. Who dis? You want a melon. Not happening, Demetrius. Not happening. I could probably get you a melon. I just have no desire to do so. I really do play this game a lot like I would in actual life. I was reading, oh god, it was a number of months ago now. Actually, it was a better part of a year ago, I think. An article talking about people with different mental illnesses playing Stardew Valley and the way that their mental illnesses manifested themselves or made themselves noticeable in the different play styles of players as they engage in Stardew Valley. You can certainly tell that, like, I'm a largely socially exhausted person by how much I just don't engage with the characters in this game. Like, oh, hey, can you pick this up for me? No. Hey, I really need some help with this. Maybe. If I'm already on my way, maybe. It's a striking difference from when I first played these types of games where I was running around doing errands for people as, like, the primary source of fun. But now it's a lot more pleasing and satisfying for me to just, like, set up a farm, get financially stable, and etc, etc, etc. Financial stability, the greatest of the millennial pipe dreams. Voting is ridiculously easy. Now, I'm not gonna sit on high and be like, anyone who doesn't vote is a terrible person, because I went from 18 to like 24 without voting. Now, part of that was because I was technically a resident of Indiana, but I was living in either Arizona or New York, so I couldn't vote in local elections, and I had to do mail-in ballots for Indiana, and basically it was just a tiny bit of effort that I was just too lazy to go through. It's not even that much effort. Mail-in ballots are ridiculously easy for folks who are out of state or out of country. So if you are, don't use it as an excuse like I did. But I was expecting there to be a whole process, but no. You can register online. That's super easy. You just get shit mailed to you. You mail it back, and that's it. It takes, like, in total, an hour of your time. And that's including registering, confirming registration, and voting whenever the fuck the voting ballots arrive in the mail. So easy! It's so easy. Now, part of me wants to transition to a voting system where we all just have IDs, individual IDs, like, tied to our, I don't know, social security number or something, and we just vote via electronic device, like mobile device, but I know, it's not secure at all, and there would be a lot of fraud and a lot of vulnerability involved with doing that. I just wish there were ways to get more folks involved in electoral processes that made it easy and intuitive. Tied to our necks, no. I definitely don't want a voting system that's tied to our necks. Like, shit. Imagine how many people would vote if all you had to do was, like, vote yay or vote nay on Twitter or Facebook. Like this page for this candidate. Like this page for that candidate. And I know that wouldn't work because of bot accounts and people hacking into other folks' accounts or setting up accounts for dead people or, you know, all the usual voter fraud shit. I want a cyber democracy. And I realize that the main obstacles to a cyber democracy are issues that I hold pretty dear, like privacy and god damn it, I forget the word. The observation of individuals by a federal entity. Privacy. Yeah, sure, let's just say privacy. Privacy issues. Like, I think I was a lot more emphatic about the importance of individual privacy back when I was a teenager. And back before my fucking smartphone started listening to every word that I say. And everything had some sort of... I'd say AI, but it's not full-blown AI. Like virtual intelligence or pseudo-intelligence built into it. Now it just feels kind of like a lost cause fighting for it. Or arguing for it. Cybersecurity and virtual privacy are jokes. They're fucking jokes. But strengthening that or making it more stringent would be a necessary first step into moving into a more cyber democracy. My webcam's a little farther, you're not wrong. Be delightful if this lens, I'm not sure what it is. I think so the webcam, and I've talked about this before, it doesn't have an autofocus, so it's not an autofocus going rogue. I'm center frame, so even if it were an autofocus, look, I'm center frame. Well, I'm slightly off center, but it's fine. Even if there were an autofocus, it should be autofocusing on me because vertically I'm in the middle of the frame, horizontally I'm mostly this at the center of the frame right here. I'm mostly in the center of the frame. It's just a lens that you have to dial in or dial out. That's a bit odd. I wanted to break open those geodes. Oh, we can double back into it. Don't know what it is. I've even tried to affix the lens in place so that it won't unfocus, but it might just be a weird software thing or hardware thing. Replacing this webcam would be nice. It's not really necessary though. Like, as far as content goes, having this little box down here doesn't add a ton to a video. You know, it adds a face to the voice that you're hearing, and it adds hand expressions like this. It adds a little bit more to look at or listen to or engage with, but the same page, it's not vitally necessary important. I've let time slip by that I shouldn't have. Okay, we can go down to the mines and mine more. Or we can go break those geodes and then go up to the mine. But if I go break the geodes, then I'm going to want to go home to drop off whatever's in the geodes, but it's a lucky day, and if it's a lucky day, I should probably take advantage of it. Or I can just wait for the next lucky day, because inevitably there will be a next lucky day. Yeah, I'm just going to go into the mines. I'm already here. Ooh. Oh, wow. Okay. We haven't turned in a rusty cog yet. That is surprising. Now, state elections are probably even more important than a federal election. Because your vote is a lot more representative when it comes to... I mean, there's gerrymandering and shit like that, which make it so that even if you vote, your candidate may or may not get elected just due to stupid political machinations of how voting districts are broken up and how those districts are taken into consideration with regard to one another and the representatives, yada 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 yada. trust me, there's things to be pessimistic about, but on the whole, I feel like you do have a bit more of a weighted impact if you vote in local elections or midterm elections than you do if you just vote in federal elections. Ideally, you know, you'd vote in both, but the federal election is sexy in a certain regard, right? Like, fuck, what if people just voted or registered to vote? It was assumed that they would vote on party lines, that they could specifically specify, I guess they could just specify if they didn't want to vote on party lines, but that way it was just weighted and people didn't have to go into a physical office to vote. I'm sure there would be problems with that, like how would you tell if somebody had died, or what if your political ideology changed? But no, that's really easy. You can change fairly easily what party you're associated with now. So I don't see how that would complicate things any. Yeah, the presidential election always gets a lot of attention for, you know, totally valid reasons, but then the midterms are just like, ooh, they're important. Are we gonna talk much about the candidates? You bet your ass not. We're just gonna talk about, ooh, it could make a big difference, but not really focus on individual small elections. It's weird. I feel like there was something I really wanted to talk about. It's completely lost. I've completely lost it. I just distinctly remember last night sitting at the computer and going, and this happens to me a lot, going like, oh yeah, I should talk about that, or oh yeah, that's something I want to go on a rant about or ramble about for a little while, and then just completely forgetting about it. Should probably just keep notes. When I have ideas for things I want to do for a game or a campaign or a mod or a project I want to work on, I'll write it down. I have notebooks full of ideas and notes and stuff like that, because that's just how you do. But for some reason, I just haven't done that with streaming. A real shame. I have a bunch of Google Docs. A bunch of Google Docs. Looking at like how popular certain games are, how the viewership is for certain games, what kind of mods or campaigns I like to do on them, etc, etc, and then I just kind of ignore that and play Stardew Valley anyway. I'll play other stuff anyway. Yeah, Where the Water Tastes Like Wine is a prime example of my recording philosophy. It was wildly unpopular, for some decent reasons, mostly just because of weird marketing and the way that Steam works, and that the game wasn't really that deeply, consistently engaging. It was narratively interesting, design perspective interesting, it was a good piece of art, but I don't know if it was a good game, if that makes sense. But I played the hell out of that, and the viewership for that was abysmal. But do I regret streaming it or playing it? Absolutely not. I'd do it again. With the new game, obviously. Same shit for, what the fuck was it called? Wow, this is telling. Banner Saga. One, I'm super late to the game on playing Banner Saga at all. Super late to the party. And two, it was kind of a niche-ish game that had mixed reactions from the get-go. It got a hell of a lot better as the game went on. And yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. But again, viewership not so great. If I were to treat this like a business, and maybe I should, in many respects I should, but also it's what I do for FUN, so FUCKYOU. Analytics are like, I should be playing EU4. Hearts of Iron 4, actually, I think, is the thing I have best reactions to on the channel. which is fucking hilarious because I'm like okay at it, if anything. U4 and Stellaris and Hearts of Iron 4 are the things that have gotten the most attention on the channel, have gotten the most viewership on Twitch and views on YouTube and likes and etc, etc, etc. Certainly the best form of audience engagement as well. People have commented on or asking for advice or looking for insight or telling me that I did something wrong even though they're wrong and don't understand how the game mechanics work, and I don't have to, but then I correct them going, hey, actually, that's a common misconception, over and over and over. Yeah, but like, as I've talked about ad nauseum, game's just kind of boring after a certain point, and there's some new expansions coming out. I'm excited for the Stellaris expansion 2.2 that'll be out, question mark, question mark, question mark. But, yeah. It's interesting to have a good idea for what kind of content I should be making and still be reluctant to make it or play it just because it's not as personally satisfying as it used to be. Now, God help me, I know I have nothing to complain about or even talk about when compared to people like, say, Northern Lion, who have played the same game for all eternity and yet somehow still sort of enjoy it. God save him. Or, you know, worse yet, Minecraft streamers. I could not do it. I would not do it. And will not do it, so I'm not doing it. Minecraft is fun. Only playing Minecraft forever sounds like hell. Sounds like a special hell for me, personally. So that's why I'm not doing it. It's fun for people. Hell yeah, have fun. I will not do it in a house. I will not do it in a mouse. I will not do it with a mouse. Isn't mouse a term used to describe a person of a certain physical attribute? Hold on. Mouse Urban Dictionary. Oh, no. Sneaky little bastard. Nope. No. A bunch of references to Hitchhiker's Guide. Is mouse-ish a word? That's not how you spell mouse-ish. Mousy? Come on, there's a word in English for this. Mousy? Of or like a mouse. Nervous, shy, timid, lacking in presence or charisma. Well, that doesn't mean what I thought it meant. Okay, no. Mousy. Makes a reference to a certain type of appearance in females. Prime candidates in mousy classification have innocent facial characteristics, rounded cheeks and chin, cute as a mouse, yet not restricting the definition just cute. Cute and mousy are two different things, sometimes go hand in hand, but have also been known to not. Mousy can range in attractiveness from substandard to above average, but all are genuinely unique in their individual regards and may vary according to the taste of the beholder. Jesus Christ. So, I was thinking of that mousy description. So, something sex joke, something reference to a past relationship, something. There's a joke in there, but I can't tell if it's degrading or not, so I'm not making it. I do tend to rhyme a lot. I don't know, it's easy. I like it. It's fun to do. I don't even really intentionally think about it. I gotta say, the words for describing different body types, or archetypes, body archetypes, are fucking weird to me. Like bear, yeah, okay, bear makes sense to me. Otter, kinda, but the first time somebody described me using otter, which I don't think it's totally on point, but yeah, whatever. People can classify however the fuck they want to. Or classify me however the fuck they want to. Knock yourself out. I was mostly just like, that's a weird thing to call someone. Like, I don't understand this term of identification. This does not resonate with me. And there's a bunch more. I don't know. It's weirdly gendered, right? Or weirdly... Well, it's weirdly gendered. The idea that a bear exhibits more traditionally masculine physical characteristics than an otter. But, like, why you gotta gender whole species like that? I know that it's just as a way to convey the physical characteristics of a person, like, this is more like an otter, this is more like a bear, but both a bear and an otter are covered in hair, and they're both omnivores, and exhibit all kinds of different qualities, and I don't know, it's just a weird system, man. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I am hip with the lexicon. I'm just confused as to the origination of the lexicon and the formation of the lexicon. Like a lot of slang, I'm mostly just confused and wondering who the fuck came up with it, why the fuck they came up with it, and in what world it makes sense. Oh, you know, there's a new recipe upstate. I gotta say, this mod's super nice, not making me check the television every day. It's relieving to have that part of the daily drudgery taken out of the game. Like, instead of get out of bed, check TV, I can do other things. Yeah, I mean, a lot of sexual slang is just pretty fucking weird. Even in context, it's pretty weird. So that's probably the case for most language, right? If you hop on an Urban Dictionary, spend some time on there, and just get blown away by the absurd creativity of people. The crudeness and the crassness, sure, but whatever, that's not really all that surprising. It's just the absurd creativity and the ability of human beings to associate things that in my mind are very unrelated or only very abstractly related, but to be concrete forms that people use to communicate is... Man, it's a thing, alright. So did we wait until the next lucky day to go upgrade our pick? I think we do. Let's talk about sprinklers. So we can move on to quality sprinklers, which I'm actually happy to do. However, in order to do that, I need iron bars, which I'm starting to slowly produce. We're gonna want some more furnaces, but I need more copper and stone to do that. What I really need to do is get down to the mines to the point where we're finding gold. Once we are at that point, I can go upgrade the pickaxe and just stay at those levels for a while. Donate this to Gunther, then run up to the spa? Yeah, that's a weird way to do it, but let's do that. Anything over here? Nope. Tossing a salad makes sense because of the kind of reference to a repetitive hand motion. Right, I think that's the connection, right? The actual hand motion naturally differs unless you're doing some fun shit. Some weird and fun shit, I suppose. But the reference is primarily just suggesting that you're, oh yeah, gold, doing something repetitively. But yeah, there's all kinds of fantastic, hilarious euphemisms for masturbation out there. Some of them more sensible sensical, not sensible, than others. What? No. No. Really? Tossing a salad means analingus now? Back in the 90s it meant something different. Uh-huh. With syrup or jelly. That's an interesting twist on this. Really? Really? Huh. Maybe it was a regional thing, but where I grew up, it was largely used to mean something else. I think it might be just derivative slang off of an older meaning. Because I definitely understood that to mean something else when I was... Oh god, when did I hear tossing a salad for the first time? Like... I don't know, 10, 11, 12, maybe even younger? That's interesting. Unfortunately, and this really is a shame. Huh. Okay. This is why it is. Thank God I went to Know Your Meme. So, Toss Salad Man, apparently, the Toss Salad Man is a man who was interviewed about homosexuality-oriented things such as analingus in prison life. Became popular in 2006 when his video was released, yet also talked quite frequently in So that's where the modern Toss Salad comes from. But I understood it to mean something very different prior to 2006. That's fucking fascinating. So it takes one viral video to introduce that slang. However, that slang was popular in the vernacular prior to that video because he must have been in contact with that slang beforehand. Language. Language is a weird, weird creature. Yeah. Yeah, the reaction of making fun of people because they're not familiar with slang is juvenile. Well, no, it's not juvenile. It's very elitist, is probably a better way to say it, because it's not juvenile. The entire foundation of modern literature and the entire reason we have books like encyclopedias and dictionaries is built on that sort of elitism. Grammar is The enforcement of strict grammar is a tool used to maintain or reinforce social norms or cultural norms. It's often used as a tool of imperialism, a tool of different forms of individual supremacy, or god damn it, inequality. There we go. Different forms of inequality. If you can't speak a language properly, you're ignored. If you can't speak eloquently, you're ignored. If you can't speak using the insider language of a culture or subgroup, your contributions or perspectives are devalued, considered less valuable, considered less significant. They are weighted differently. which isn't really shocking or weird or, you know, anything revolutionary to say. However, to suggest that it is an intentional device used to exclude people and benefit those born into positions and cultures of authority and power might be a bit more of a revolutionary thing to say. It's really not that out of bounds or off base of a claim. To me, it seems very intuitive that, like, to have secret languages that you use to communicate, or people who can't exactly reference. It's like having an inside joke with a friend. You know, you and your friend get that inside joke, but if somebody else tries to reference it, it's just not quite right. You know, it just doesn't fit quite right, and like, nah, I see you're trying, but like, this isn't really your space. Grammatical elitism sort of takes on the same tonality. And fuck knows, Lord knows, I am not the most grammatically adept or accurate or consistently accurate person in the world. I complain so much about grammatical errors or syntax errors or phrasing abnormalities or language quirks in video games or in writing. Like, when I was reading the voting brief or pamphlet, whatever the hell. Hardly a pamphlet, it was a fucking book. When I was reading through that and reading some of the fucking Republican candidates misspelling things or accidentally indenting in the middle of a line or the middle of a sentence, it's just like, what? How can these assholes be running for office if you can't even write a comprehensible paragraph? You can't be bothered to write a grammatically sound paragraph. You shouldn't be running for office. So see, it's a two-pronged thing. I'm victim, and I'm victimizing people using this system of value as well. Like, it's certainly not just the thing that certain elites do. I'm, willingly or not, and it was willingly, I did seek out a higher education, part of an intellectual elite. Just in that I've had access to higher education, I value intellectual pursuits more than other pursuits, oftentimes. I find people who don't find value in those things hard to relate, or... No, I don't. I don't find it hard to relate to them, but I find it confusing. Understanding systems of value that don't place much of an emphasis on individual pursuit of knowledge or wisdom, or etc., etc. So if I find a certain political candidate is not speaking articulately or consistently in a fashion that demonstrates their intelligence or knowledge set, I am made to feel wary of them. So when you have candidates who are saying things off camera like grab them by the pussy or Pokemon go to the polls, naturally I don't feel very kindly about either of them. Oh man, America's in... it's a joke. I complain a lot about modern political climates. I complain a lot, you know, and stop. Full stop. And stop. No, that's not how that works. Full stop. I complain a lot. But like, fuck, I'm so much happier to be alive now than at any other historical period. We've, as a species, technologically, socially, ethically, morally, have come a long way in the last century. A long, long way. We have a long way to go. We have a very long way to go in many regards, but we're not keeping women or minorities from voting anymore. And, you know, the removal of a negative does not make it a positive. I absolutely recognize that. But on the other hand, like, shit, we have penicillin. And I know penicillin was invented more than 100 years ago at this point, but we have the hallmarks of modern medicine that are just absolutely fucking life-saving and amazing. I can't imagine living as fulfilling of a life, and I know this is pretty judgmental, in 1918 as 2018. If I were alive in 1918, I'd be off in Europe right now. I'd be fighting those, they were not called Krauts yet. I'd be fighting the Huns in a war for no fucking reason. They sank the Lusitania? They sank one of our illegal arms shipping boats that just didn't happen to have illegal arms on it at the time. Or maybe it did? Whatever. Gotta go fight the Germans for no reason. Hey, yeah, many people my age, and mostly younger, are fighting a feudal war on terrorism, which is stupid idea. How do we de-radicalize people? What if we radicalize them? Genius. But at least I'm not conscripted. You know, the draft is no longer a thing. I live with some form of subsidized healthcare, though I'm very fortunate to live in a state where there's any form of subsidized healthcare at all. Alcohol is no longer illegal. Cigarettes are no longer considered healthy. A woman is able to own her own bank account and it is not considered to be legally the responsibility of her wife or father. You know, it's been a pretty impactful century. Sure, we have a lot further to go and a lot more to do. But like, someone having a car means nothing about their social status anymore. That's just not true, Cora. You hate cigarettes and you have several bank accounts. Don't know who you've been talking to. Like, 1918, some people had automobiles. Some. But they were mostly very financially well off. And everyone else, like, didn't even have horses. You just walked, or you caught a ride somewhere. The individual mobility of human beings is significantly higher in the modern day than it was 100 years ago. And we got trains, planes, and automobiles. And yeah, we had some automobiles, and we had some really janky planes, and we had some pretty robust trains actually back in that early 20th century, late 19th century. Yeah. But yeah. You know, so this isn't a horrible time to be alive. A lot of people, YouTubers and Twitch personalities that I follow, it's very easy, and I fall victim to this all the time. It's easy to feel like things are horrible, things are not getting better, or things are slowly getting better, or things are never going to get better. And, you know, that feeling resonates with me. I definitely identify a lot with that, and if you're feeling that way, I totally understand. But we've been through worse. In some respects. In other respects, we've never had to deal with global warming on the scale that we're dealing with it. We've never had so many states with the capability to just destroy each other, cause wide-scale cataclysmic events in terms of, like, nuclear warfare, biological warfare, chemical warfare. You know, those are all new challenges. we also have resource shortages that we weren't aware of or weren't experiencing as significantly a century ago, but you want a robust train? You know, I wouldn't be against getting a train set for Christmas for us. That would be kind of stupid because it serves no purpose, right, beyond amusement, but as a kid, I always had a train set. Well, you know, it's arguable that the global population increase is not necessarily a better thing. Because it puts a hell of a lot more strain on our food supply, which puts, in turn, it puts strain on the environment or ecology of the area where we have our agriculture based. And the more people we have alive and the more illnesses that we're treating with similar medicines or similar antibiotics in particular, we're making some future challenges for ourselves. It really does seem, in many ways, like many things are orders of magnitude better. But our challenges as a species, as modern civilizations, are also orders of magnitude more intense, more energetic, more significant, more impactful on larger scales than ever before in human history. Or at least we're more aware and conscious of them, or we're, depending on our political or philosophical ideology, you know, we might be intentionally denying that we are this much more impactful on a global scale. I think that's the main difference, that we have a more robust, nuanced, complicated, impactful tool set, and now we're dealing with problems that are on a grander scale than ever before. Well, the extreme decrease in disease and disease-related deaths is a cause of population increase. Oh my god, who the fuck was it? Alright, I have to look this up, sorry. Malthusian, right? Malthus. Yeah, Malthusian theory, right, I'm right about this, Thomas Robert Malthus, English cleric and scholar, born in 1766, died in 1834. Malthusian theory is relating to population. His theory, the population tends to increase at a faster rate than its means of subsistence, and unless it's checked by moral restraint, disease, famine, war, or other disaster, widespread poverty and degradation inevitably result. Malthusian theory suggests that diseases, warfare, etc., or intentionally limiting how much we reproduce are the only things from keeping us from slipping into a more or less apocalyptic state. So, while saving lives almost undeniably is good, and allowing people to reproduce if they want to, and having longer lifespans is absolutely valuable, if it's not likewise accompanied by people critically deciding or considering all the factors and if they should be reproducing, causes significant problems. Now, Malthusian theory is it's a fucking tough pill to swallow. It is a tough thing to engage with, especially at the time. Especially when, as a contemporary of his. Because he was like, if you take Malthusian thought to a logical extreme, you can suggest that war can be moral in that it's population control, and that having people of a lower income die in these wars, that it's overall better for society because there's less of a drain on resources. Malthusian thought can be twisted in some fucked up ways. Generally, the theory itself, not so bad, but the way it's extrapolated can be horrifying. But yeah, the elimination of disease, good. But unless we're likewise expanding our ability to care for, house, and feed, and employ, and etc., all these new lives, for all of these lives that are no longer being lost, then it creates problems on a larger scale. It's just real fucked up. And please let me be clear in saying I'm not claiming we shouldn't be saving lives. We absolutely should. It just, like I was saying a few minutes ago, these tools and our ability to do these great, grand things present us with problems on a scale that we're unused to dealing with as a civilization, as a society, that we're unaccustomed to having to be like, yeah, we can bring hundreds of thousands and millions of more people into the world and keep them around longer. But how do we feed them? How do we house them? What do they do to produce value or labor in our capitalist system? Yeah. There's a lot going on because a lot of these folks whose lives are being prolonged are not producing value in the capitalist sense. Like a lot of older folks are not employed full time anyway, and we have oftentimes when baby boomers are talked about, it's mentioned that they're the largest generation, or were the largest generation. They're not. Millennials actually outnumber them, and I think the generation that came after us meaning millennials in this context, outnumber us as well. All the same, we have a significant problem of a pretty substantial unemployment levels, because old people aren't dying because of medical advances. They're eating through their life savings a lot faster because of inflation, and also they're having to have their savings last a lot longer because they're just not dying as young as they had expected to, which is a good thing, but it's creating a lot of unexpected financial hurdles and obstacles. And our economy should, adjust accordingly. We should have more social services. We should have more federal work programs. We should have more ways for people to get educated for free, get vocational education or, higher education for free in order to make them more qualified and more able to do more kinds of work, especially with accompanying technological breakthroughs in automation, mechanization, and just the overall efficiency of what a single worker can accomplish in a day, just using more advanced tools, let alone automated or mechanized tools. We have to come up with more jobs for people to do. And a lot of these jobs are going to be intellectual, they're going to be artistic, they're going to be entertainment. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but we need to, if we are going to have a happy, healthy, sane society, social services, widespread, universal social income, social health care, etc., are just necessities. Alright, what do I not want here? Let's throw away these mixed seeds, let's get this badass obsidian edge sword, which this edgelord does more than what we're using. This is nice and weighty, but goodbye iron edge. And yeah, it's a little early to leave the mines, but this is wrapping up this video, so I want to be able to sort all this away. Yeah, it's a fucking fascinating period of history that we live in right now. But it can be frustrating. It can be really frustrating talking with older generations, with older folks who be like, well, when we were your age, the youth have no appreciation. I fought in this war or that war, or we had to deal with the fear of atomic war and da-da-da-da-da. That fear hasn't gone away. It's just gotten more, we don't have a big bad Soviet Union as our one thing to be afraid of. We have tons of different smaller fears. We have lots and lots of little things to be afraid of. It doesn't take a large organized state to institute or facilitate acts of horrifying destruction anymore. But also, it doesn't take a robust industrialized state to do miraculous things anymore either. SpaceX is a prime example of you don't need an entire nation's worth of resources to go to space. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna put in a cut here. I think I'm gonna switch over to something else. I mean, I'm really in a zen with this, but I want to play Pathfinder, if I'm being real. So I'm going to put in a cut here. If you're watching on YouTube, another episode will be up tomorrow. Until then, make sure to comment, share, like, subscribe, etc., etc., etc. If you're watching on Twitch, you're going to see an overlay come up and you hear me complaining about, that's not right, and get this EXE in here, and the sound levels are all wrong. But we'll deal with that. So either way, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.